So if you've been living under a rock and somehow have absolutely no idea what's been going on outside of your house, outside your window, off the computer screen, anything like that, honestly, at that point, you don't even have an excuse because literally everything on your computer screen has been completely dominated by the election. But if you don't know, tomorrow is the US presidential election, 2020, man. First off, I'm 20 years old, right? This is my first time being eligible to vote in a presidential election. And I will be voting, of course. And it feels really weird, okay? Because, my whole childhood, I've known about elections. I watched President Obama be inaugurated on TV. In third grade, in the classroom, we all sat at the back. There was a TV rolled in, if you're 90s or early 2000s baby, and you guys didn't have, school laptops and cool stuff like that, right? They wheeled in these big square box TVs that I played a GameCube on until I was 9. Had the yellow straps and everything on the little rolling stand, and, they plugged that in, and we watched Obama get inaugurated. It was a pretty cool moment. I remember it very fondly. In high school, we watched as President Donald Trump was inaugurated through live streams on our computers as we coded software. So that's how far things kind of changed in 8 years. And I'm very nervous. I've never been nervous about a presidential election before. I wasn't nervous in 2016, which was, in my opinion, the most politically divided and probably tense election that we've had in American history, but I'm actually nervous this time, okay? I'm very fucking nervous. Nervous to the point that I'm actively considering the possible scenarios of what's going to happen after this. And this video is not meant to scare you. This video is not meant to make you think this is what's going to happen. I have no idea. This is my personal take on everything. You can feel free to agree or disagree with it. I really don't care. So, obviously, there's been a lot of political tension this year, okay? There's been a lot of tension overall in not even just the United States, but on planet Earth. But I'm going to focus on the US here. There's been a lot of tension. If there wasn't a global pandemic killing so many people that I lost count a long time ago, I'm not even looking up the statistics on how many people died anymore because it just climbs crazily. The economy crashed and is now recovering, but God only knows what's going to happen in the future. There's been protests and riots that have been happening off and on since like May, And it feels like everything is leading up to this election. All these different issues, all these different combined things that have happened in our country, this is the culmination. This is the boiling point right here. Tomorrow, the election. Who's going to win presidency, okay? Now, obviously, we all know the answer is Kanye West. He will be winning the presidency tomorrow. And of course, Power from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy will become the new national anthem. He will be sworn in, putting his hand on a copy of The Life of Pablo, while New Slaves from Yeezus plays in the background. But in all reality, we're going to figure out who becomes president. Hopefully, tomorrow night, the next morning, whatever, I don't know. It depends on how they count up the votes or whatever happens. But tomorrow is the day, right? And I'm very nervous, okay? Now, let me explain this. The number one reason that I'm nervous is the media. Okay, and that probably sounds crazy to a lot of you. What, the media, the mainstream media is the reason why you're afraid about this election? 100% the mainstream media is the reason that I'm afraid for this election. Number one, okay, I believe the mainstream media is the actual enemy of the people. Now, the vast majority of the news that you get comes from a handful of companies. Social medias, conglomerates that own TV stations and newspapers and all kinds of different things. Your information comes from a handful of people. Which at the end of the day, that's not a very good thing when you're trying to actually absorb information that's legitimate and true, when only a few people really can tell you what's going on in the world. And they've already had, just a killer year of dividing the American people. They've already had a killer year of making us all hate each other. They did a really good job at dividing us beyond these racial lines, okay? They've done a great job at dividing us beyond gender and sexuality lines over the last few years. And they've been perpetuating all this because it makes them a lot of money. They've been perpetuating the idea that we should all hate one another subconsciously, just for sheer profit, just because it makes them so much money. And I think that this is something that a lot of Americans don't even realize is happening, right? They'll take things that are going on in the world, like the protests and all kinds of different things, and they find a way to divide you based on it, okay? When in all reality, what we need in times like that is everyone coming together and actually finding a solution. You'll notice the mainstream media never actually perpetuates true change. They never perpetuate actual unity, unison, everyone coming together and helping, everyone doing their part, everyone sharing their opinion. It's always them trying their hardest to make you believe that the elites of the country are not the problem, the people running our country are not the problem, but it's actually your neighbor. And even just this year alone, the amount of political division that the mainstream media has been responsible for is absolutely insane. It's gotten to the point that during the Trump presidency, if you're right-leaning, you're often viewed as someone who is homophobic, xenophobic, racist, anti-immigration, anti-abortion, anti-social program, things like that, right? Which, you also compare that with the fact that a lot of people on the left are viewed as SJW libtards who have no good ideas, who want everything for free, who hate America, want to burn down the system and make everybody poor. And I mean, it's very clear to most sensible people that you can have beliefs on both sides of that, right? And not support the things done by the leaders of those parties or even support the candidates. A lot of people on the left are still mad that someone like Andrew Yang or Bernie Sanders wasn't nominated and that Joe Biden was the best they came up with. And a lot of people on the right don't agree with what Donald Trump and Mike Pence all do. But if you read the media and you pay attention to it and it's like your main source of information, you are basically taught that you need to hate the other side. The other side is the one destroying this country. It's not the people at the top profiting off of your ignorance of the other side and your basic non-comprehension of political issues that affect your day-to-day life in every single way. The real enemy is your neighbor because he has a Donald Trump sign in his yard, or, that guy across the street has a Joe Biden and Black Lives Matter sign in his yard. So they divide people, based on all these ridiculous lines to the point that, there's actual issues. I'm pretty sure the Biden bus was surrounded by Trump supporters the other day, and now the FBI is investigating it. Here in Ohio, there was a Trump supporter truck rally. They were driving around the 270 belt of Columbus on the highway. One of them shot somebody's windshield out with a gun. I almost witnessed a fucking street brawl in the parking lot of Buffalo Wild Wings a few days ago because a Trump supporter was driving around with flags and some people were screaming Black Lives Matter at him. And people from all different parking lots were yelling at each other, threatening each other and whatnot. And a lot of it really comes back to the media and how they, report on issues and what they say and how they do it for profit instead of actually trying to inform people. And it's gotten to the point that there's so much tense vibes, there's so much pressure and energy built up on both sides that I feel regardless of who wins this election, there's going to be a fucking problem, okay? Now, if Donald Trump wins, I don't mean to be that guy, but honestly, I fear that there might be some pretty violent rioting that goes on or some pretty violent things that happen around the country. I mean, we've already seen all these different events happen this year, right? We've seen protests, we've seen riots, we've seen cities on fire, we've seen buildings burned down, we've seen people killed, and a lot of it really highlights how divided this country really is, in my opinion. And then I think if Donald Trump wins this, you're gonna see a lot of people taking to the streets and just fucking shit up, to put it very bluntly. Now, if Biden ends up winning the election, which it seems like a lot of the major polls have him winning, but then again, they also had Clinton winning, and at the end of the day, I really don't trust the mainstream media and their numbers. I think that this race is a lot closer than it's being made out to be already. I think you're going to have a lot of Trump supporters who are very mad, and there might still be some violence, but I think also there's been a lot of worry about whether or not Trump is actually going to admit defeat and if he's actually going to peacefully step down. Now, I don't think there's really going to be an instance in which he can stay in office and refuse to step down or anything crazy. But God only knows what's gonna fucking happen, man. The energy has been so horrible around this election, and it sucks, because this is my first major election, right? I voted in the 2018 midterms and whatnot, but this is my first major election, and, if you don't, so if you vote for either of the two sides, half people hate you, right? They think you're an enemy of them. But then if you vote for a third-party candidate, then you're immediately looked down upon and viewed like a fucking imbecile. Wait, you didn't vote like it's American Idol? You didn't vote for only one of the two candidates? What's wrong with you? Come on, dude, are you fucking serious right now? It's so stupid that people aren't allowed to have opinions in 2020. People aren't allowed to deviate from the normal train of thought and vote for someone who, probably won't win the election, but you do realize that if they get a certain percentage of the vote, they actually have to be put and treated fucking equally to the Democrats and Republicans. Everyone complains every single fucking year. Bro, we only got these two idiots to vote for? Man, I gotta vote between these two? Duh. No, you don't. There's actually, hella candidates for you to vote for, but you won't vote for any of them. And if you did vote for some of them, maybe, then instead of having just 2 people yelling at you on a stage and looking stupid, you can have 6 or 7, like other countries do. But hey, that would make sense. That would be logical to do something like that, right? To actually vote for a candidate you believe would be the best choice for president, not just because they have the right color attached to their name. And another reason that I'm honestly pretty nervous about tomorrow is because, people are going to be going and voting physically. And you know how America's been about the COVID pandemic, man. I mean, you know how people are reacting with the masks and everything, right? There's people who fucking refuse them. And whatever. You know, if you don't agree and support masks, that's fine. But you already know that there's going to be an explosion of cases. I'm pretty confident that in the next few weeks, with all the people going out to vote tomorrow, everyone being packed elbow to asshole in their polling place, there's going to be a problem, right? You know, there's going to be people spreading it and everything. And honestly, I'm expecting maybe just even a little bit of violence to happen at polling places, you know. Once again, people are all on edge, everyone else is the enemy if they vote different than you politically. I would not be surprised if some Biden supporters and Trump supporters were, you know, getting in fist fights or getting belligerent, you know, getting in massive street fights and something stupid. If there wasn't political harassment going on in the lines and things like that. So I'm pretty nervous about this election because, I mean, obviously the consequences of it are going to last for years. Like, we don't get to vote for another president for 4 more years, you know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, like, it's on us to make the right decision now. That's the whole idea, but it seems like most people are a lot less focused on making the right decision for the country, and they're more focused on making the decision that they think will make them look more cool to their friends and family, or just aren't voting at all, which is also a problem. If you can vote and you're eligible to vote this year, you need to go vote, okay? If you need to, take time to research some candidates. It really isn't that hard. It takes maybe 30 minutes. There's already record turnouts for votes. They said that this was, I think, going to be the year that mail-in and early voting was actually going to outpace in-person same-day voting on Election Day. So a lot of places have just completely stomped out their turnout already with just mail-ins and early voting. And you should vote regardless. So I'm just nervous to see what's going to happen with this and, you know, the after effects and how people are going to act. Because it's already been bad, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, though, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. Thank you to my channel members. Your support helps my channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, nervous, to say the least, and signing out.